Okay, so hello, Sonja. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Manuel. I'm the captain of the ship today, where we visit uh, practice theory enthusiasts on the practice theory map. So I guess we'll get right into it and just ask you to tell us something about where you are right now.
Sure, thank you for having me today. So I am on my, so to say, end of year sailing tour, which is a mix of travel and work. I came all the way up from Switzerland on the map, and now in Koblenz in Germany at my cousin's place. And then I will pass through Berlin and eventually reach then the very north of Germany, right to the border of Denmark, where I will spend Christmas then.
Mhm.
And yeah, and since traveling is a perfect time for me to read, I have a lot of things to read with me, some messy ethnographic data I'd like to swim in, and then some books and some manuscripts, and yeah.
Okay, cool. A very mobile uh, enthusiast. And so, what do you do?
So I'm in the second half of my PhD journey, and I'm writing a cumulative dissertation on sustainable meat consumption practices. I'm asking what's the beef actually with sustainable meat consumption practices. And I have two main sub-questions. So how do consumption practices come to life? And then how do producers and consumers make sense of sustainable meat consumption? And especially for the first part, I'm working very much with practice theory, where, like in my first article, I tried to reconceptualize choice and preference for certain types of meat with the help of practice theory. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's a great intro into the next questions from Josie.
Hi, Sonja.
Hi, Josie.
I'm the pirate. And I have some questions as a pirate out of curiosity. Where did you first encounter practice theory? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. So my background is in applied sciences, in nutrition and dietetics. And a younger version of me worked as a dietitian and often actually with like severely ill patients in clinical settings. And then in summer 2022, I was conditionally accepted to start a PhD on sustainable meat consumption in Lugano in Switzerland. And the conditions included attending university course at the master's level. And then I attended a lecture of Marlene Sahakian in Basel in Switzerland. And she presented her research project at the time which was asking about how can transitions to healthy and sustainable diets be further supported in Switzerland. And like one of her main answers was that it's important to understand consumption as a social practice and beyond individual actions based on rational choices. And this was my first encounter. So her team was very much focusing on what people actually do. And even though nowadays, like today, I'm not quite sure. I think I still need to figure out where I stand on the broader idea of whether practices can be supported to come to life. But I'm truly grateful for this first encounter, really, because this drew me into the whole field of practice theory, really.
Oh, very interesting. So a bit of serendipity there and curiosity, and very, very nice. And can I ask you what attracted you to practice theory?
Yes, of course. So from that moment in Marlene's lecture, when I think I was mainly fascinated by this idea of understanding consumption beyond individual actions, really. And I remember as a former dietitian, at the time, I often felt kind of uneasy, even guilty in a way, assuming and asserting that counseling individuals could significantly influence people's eating behavior. And I mean, of course, I don't mean to deny that a sick person needs or should be supported in terms of what their individual resources are to adapt their diets. But still, what fascinated me about the idea of practice theory was that it allows to temporarily set aside the notion of individual responsibility, and this opens up entire new ways of thinking and about power and empowerment, for instance, but then also allows to ask completely new questions. I'm even wondering how it could perhaps also shape the whole profession of nutrition and dietetics, or contribute to shape the whole profession, actually, when we start asking questions within the frame of practice theory, rather than only thinking that individual actions are key.
Very interesting. Oh, and quite an interesting goal, you know, to rethink the profession, you know, of what is to be a dietitian and the role of a dietitian. Very interesting. And can I ask what ideas you're working with?
Sure. So as a beginner, I love the Dynamics of Social Practices by Elizabeth Schroff and Matt Watson and Mike Panzer, because I can read it over and over again and always discover something new in this book, really. And it helps me to work on my questions I have for my dissertation. And I also I'm intrigued by, like, when I learned about Giddens' recursivity, because I find it very helpful because it dissolves this dualism and turns it into a duality between structure and individual, and this fluidity, like this moving kind of fluidity, helps me to give me a language to describe what I didn't know how to describe before. And then I just started reading Stanley Blue's new book on practice theory and process philosophy, and it seems to me, as far as I got, that it helps me to further embrace this idea of fluidity, and how this idea of fluidity. At the same time, I'm realizing how much practice it actually needs to really fully embrace the becoming perspective, and that it's really not easy as a way of thinking, but I'm fascinated about it. So yeah.
Very nice. Well, I now will let the anthropologist speak.
Right, well, you can tell from the hat that I'm pretending to be an anthropologist today. And because I'm doing that, I'm interested in tribes and groups and how they form and so on. So from your background, I mean, do you feel part of a group working on practice theory, or do you feel you're on your own, or where are you in tribe land?
This is a very good question. So let's say at times I feel loosely connected, and then other times more stickier. I would say I'm very grateful for the Center of Practice Theory with all its resources and activities. And to me, it's really like a go-to island when I when I have this feeling of I want to meet people working also with stronger versions of practice theory, which I really enjoy. And this is, of course, something I encounter much less in my immediate environment, with people with nutrition dietetics and their backs as a background. And then also I'm lucky to have a great mentor for my dissertation who is very knowledgeable in practice theory, like in the field. So this helps as well. However, we have many discussions about me liking decentering the individual, and to her initially this felt a bit strange, but yeah, but I love these kind of conversations as well. And then so my my original professional community, even if they are fascinated about what I'm doing, I think they have some struggles, really. They keep asking me questions about the impact of practice theory research, and then also what it offers for individual dietary therapy, for example. And I think I have still a long way to go thinking about
With them,
answers,
yeah.
but yeah, exactly.
I like the idea of the island of practice theory. I think we should work on that, especially now we're on the boat.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so Sonja, thanks very much for that. We'd like a souvenir from you, if that's possible. Do you have something to remind us of our trip?
Yes, most definitely. So
So
I
you
brought.
can, let's see what it is.
Can you see that? This is a cow on a piece of a raclette cheese. This is a Swiss
Lovely.
raclette. Yes, because it keeps you warm. It's super tasty and it's energy dense as well, which you might need at some
Fantastic.
point.
I'm sure we need some. Thank you very much for that. And I'm
Great.
sure the captain will figure out a way to melt it as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, one last question. Where should we go next? Who would you like to meet on the map?
Well, so I was thinking, if Manuel ever retires from his job as a captain, I would highly recommend actually visiting him and chatting
Manuel,
about.
we can visit
Yes.
our own captain. Well,
Yes,
that's interesting.
at some point he might retire. Who knows?
We
And
can
then,
try. We can try. We'll work on it. Yeah.
because he applied practice theory in the context of football, if I'm not mistaken, and which is very interesting as well.
Okay, maybe if we get into a very calm patch of sea, we can chat to the captain. Well, Sonja, thanks. It was excellent to talk to you, and see you again.
See you again. Thank you.
Thanks.